Thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you for everyone that's here today. I'd like to make a correction because our folks work very difficult jobs, and I would like them to have the recognition that they deserve. We have two chief deputies, Ann and Harry, our deputy chief, Oviedo Wilson, and our field training officer and head of our child fatality team, Nikki Acera. I am grateful for all of their hard work. Richland County EMS was dispatched at 1740 on September 1st to 10336 Wilson Boulevard to the Sunshine House Early Learning Academy located in Blythewood. On arrival at 1754, paramedics quickly assessed for signs of life and finding none, pronounced both children, who are identical twin boys, dead at 1755. The Richland County Coroner's Office confirmed that Bryson, spelled B-R-Y-S-O-N, and Braden, spelled B-R-A-Y-D-E-N, McDaniel, of Blythewood, South Carolina, aged 20 months old, were in fact deceased. The Richland County Coroner's Office has reinstated the child fatality team led by Deputy Coroner and Field Training Officer Nikki Acera, who were deployed immediately yesterday, along with the others you see standing before you. Our office is working in collaboration with law enforcement, namely the Richland County Sheriff's Department and the Department of Social Services, to gather all pertinent information that may assist in pinning down a more exact timeline of the events that led to Bryson and Braden's demise. At this point in the investigation, we believe that Bryson and Braden may have been in the car for 9.5 hours before 911 was called. I personally attended their autopsies this morning. Bryson and Braden do not show any physical signs of trauma or abuse. Comprehensive x-rays do not reveal any healing fractures or acute fractures. Their internal organs were developing normally, and the only abnormalities were found in the lungs. An examination of their stomach contents is consistent with no oral intake for the time frame that we believe they were in the vehicle. Further assessment under microscope, histology, and toxicology will reveal any things that were not visible during this part of the exam. In addition, blood, vitreous humor, which comes from the eye, and urine will be sent to SLED and NMS laboratories for further examination. Examination of the body fluids will confirm or rule out any chemicals, toxins, illicit drugs, or over-the-counter medications that may have contributed to their death. The cause of death at this time will be listed as pending further studies, but it is probable that their deaths were due to hyperthermia. We will not know for certain until all of the investigation is complete. We will not announce manner of death until we have gathered all of the information. I would like to say at this time, with the evidence that we have, we do not believe the Sunshine Academy staff was involved or is complicit in any way in the deaths of Bryson and Braden McDaniel. In terms of any criminal charges, law enforcement, namely the Richland County Sheriff's Department, will have to speak to that. On behalf of the Richland County Coroner's Office, I will say this: in God we trust, and everyone else we vet. Child deaths are difficult for everyone, but we must seek answers to the questions that we have before us. We must rule out any foul play, and the tests that I listed above will be able to help us do that along with the autopsy. At this time, Bryson and Braden seem to be well taken care of by their family. If this is an unfortunate accident, we pray that the family will one day find peace. If this was indeed a criminal act, we pray and we will help seek justice. I'll take your questions at this time.
Do you know whose car they were found in, who the owner is, or whoever the driver was?
The family's car.
Well, how do they come to that, be at that location? Is there a sibling that goes to, or some family member employed employed there? How do they arrive at that location, or what's the relationship with the Sunshine House?
Thank you for your question. The children were enrolled there as students.
Did you guys locate the parents of these babies?
Yes, we have spoken with the family, they have spoken with law enforcement, and again, any criminal charges that would be potentially filed would come from the sheriff's department, not from the coroner's office. So I would kindly ask that you refer your questions to them for that. But thank you for your question.
How many types of cases like this a year do you see?
In terms of children being
Left in the car.
left in a vehicle, this is our first one this year. So I don't think this is something that we will see often, but it does happen. There are cases across the country where you just get into a routine and somehow children are left in a vehicle, or maybe you weren't the parent that was dropping kids off and that's not a part of your routine and you forget. So we can't speak to how or why the children were left in the vehicle for so long. And again, that's why I state if this is an unfortunate accident, we pray the family can find peace. But if it was a criminal act, we will help seek justice for these babies.
Do you have any suggestions to parents so they don't accidentally forget their kids in the backseat?
I do, and I'm really glad that you asked that question, so thank you for that. It is difficult being a parent, especially in the midst of a pandemic. You have so many other external stressors that are not a part of your normal routine. So we ask families, we ask mothers and caregivers to be diligent about checking your vehicle for your child. Just check. Open the back door. Check the car seat. A lot of, especially children this age, like Bryson and Braden, they're rear facing. So you may not notice that they're in the vehicle when you get out. So we just ask that parents be diligent, check the back seat, check to make sure that if you send a bag in with your child, is the bag still in the car? Is the child still in the car? So that's what we're asking families for right now, to just be diligent about it. Put a reminder in your phone. Did I drop the kids off? Very easy thing to do. All of us have cell phones. All of us have smartphones. It's a very easy way to make sure that something like this doesn't happen to your family.
Do you know if these car seats were rear facing?
They were rear-facing car seats.
Are you able to share how these babies were found, or if in fact like a car window was broken in order to get them, or any of those details?
I will say this. There was a broken car window, but the children were already deceased at that point that the window was broken out.
Do you know which window that was?
I will let law enforcement speak to the state of the vehicle on that. You
Did
can
say
ask
it
them
was the
about that.
back window then?
Yes.
Do you happen to know why the sheriff's office isn't here with you right now?
They are conducting an investigation, and we are responsible for Bryson and Braden in a different way than the sheriff's department. We work in collaboration with them, and so I know that if our sheriff's department isn't standing here with us, it's because they're actively working to find out what happened to Bryson and Braden on the law side.
I apologize if you answered this already, but again, who exactly found those children?
The children were discovered by by one of their parents.
Do you know if it was the father?
I will let law enforcement address that, because right now no criminal charges have been filed, and I do not want to criminalize a father or a mother that may have accidentally left their child in a vehicle. So I will, out of respect for the parents who may just be terribly grieving right now, I will not say which one.
Is the parent who found them the owner of the car or the driver of the car?
The parent was driving the vehicle that belongs to the family.
Do the children have any other siblings?
They do.
And to your knowledge, when they were in the car, were they supposed to be in fact inside the daycare at that time? Or?
Yes, sir.
And do we know of any reports made out from that daycare that they were absent or not present, or any type of communication with them?
We do not have any reports from the daycare facility that they were missing that day. There was nothing filed, I'll say.
You said you believe that they may have been inside for over 9 hours. Do you have any idea of when the vehicle may have gotten to the daycare?
The vehicle and where the children were found, they arrived around 5:30 yesterday evening.
Just a small detail. When you say vehicle, would you saying car though, like an SUV, just be specific in the writing of this?
Oh, absolutely. Could you?
It's an SUV type vehicle.
It's a smaller,
Small SUV?
yes.
You know what to make a model is,
Out of privacy for the family, I'd like to not reveal that information.
I apologize, to clarify my question, I meant, what time in the morning did they happen to get to the daycare? Like, was the car there all day?
No, and I see what you're saying. No, the car was not parked in the parking lot all day. I think that would have been certainly something that the staff would have noticed. The vehicle came to the facility around, or to that address around 5:30 p.m. and then EMS was dispatched at 17:40, which is 5:40 p.m.
So the person went to go pick up the children, correct?
Yes.
Do you know where the vehicle was? I understand it was at a workplace. Do you know what that workplace was?
Again, out of respect for the family, I will not reveal that information. But it is believed that the children were possibly in the vehicle all day,
And do you,
obviously with the time frame.
yeah, and can you talk about the damage to the lungs that tell you this is the cause of death?
So this is why we do, why we have a cause of death as pending further studies, because we need to look at those things underneath the microscope. We need to send them off for further testing. And so it would be actually very unprofessional of me to say this is exactly what causes, because there are so many factors that go into determining what that abnormality was caused from. So just professionally speaking, I would like to wait until we have more information.
So just to clarify the timeline, so the children were in the car, was driven by one of the parents, at another place, a workplace, for the duration of the day, and then at 5:30 came to Sunshine House, and that's when
Yes.
EMS was called. Okay.
Yes. We believe the children were possibly placed in the vehicle around 7:30 or 8 a.m.
And this is a difficult question to ask, but it was, when a child has possibly passed away for several hours, is there any way that the parent would have been able to smell that?
You're asking if there's any odor associated with the death. There are odors associated with death. It depends on what type of death, obviously. In this instance, I will wait until we have more information before I speak to those very small details like that, because if this does end up being a criminal case, then we will certainly share that information.
From conversations with the family, did the parent forget the children were in the back seat, or is that still under investigation?
It is under investigation, but I'll tell you this. We have two very distraught parents. Two very distraught parents. Are there any other questions?
And just for you, I mean, this is very difficult, I'm sure, for you to stand in on that autopsy. How did it affect you?
I think in situations like this, for me, I try not to assign personal value in that. I try not to imagine myself in the situation. I want to know what happened to Bryson and Braden McDaniel. I want to know how I'm standing in an autopsy room looking at 20-month-old babies have an autopsy done. So for me, I want to know what happened. And that is how I'm able to do this job every single day. It's how my chiefs and my deputy chief and my field training officer are able to do this job every single day, because we want to know what happened. And so we ask questions and we try to find those answers so that we can give families closure.
Since certainly they have been in the car for a long amount of time, but with as warm as it is outside right now, just how long does it take for, especially infants who are left in a car without air conditioning, before that situation becomes dangerous?
So that depends on a number of factors. It depends on the hydration level. Did they have something to drink or eat? We know that they possibly did not, because their stomach contents, there were no stomach contents. So it depends on a variety of factors. So there's no like simple answer to that question. But if you think about a small dog who's left inside of a vehicle, it only takes a matter of hours. So this was not a this didn't happen suddenly, and I think that's the part that's most upsetting, is that that these children may have suffered some, and that's the part that breaks your heart. It's not the autopsy, it's not, you know, having to process the scene, it's that they may have suffered some in this process. So we just want to find answers and try to find out what happened. But in terms of the timeline, there are just way too many factors to consider. But I will say that in the heat, things happen faster. Are there any other questions? I want to thank you guys for being here today. I want to thank my amazing team who have probably had about 2 hours of sleep and are standing here with me. We're all a little tired today, but we will not sleep until we find answers to these questions. So thank you guys. We appreciate you.